So I'm with Louise K today. Louise is the channel for Aikon, a ninth dimensional Pleiadian collective. And we've decided to come together today. There's been some calling for us to have a chat and talk about a few subjects that have come up in me, and hopefully Louise is going to share some of her perspectives of what she's learned from her own journey and her own channeling experience. And so, yeah, check out Louise's website. It's louiseK.net. And is there anything you'd like to say, Louise?
Yeah, I just want to say hello and thanks for talking with me like this. It's really nice to connect with you and also to connect with everybody watching. Welcome. Thank you for joining us for this chat. And let's get started.
Okay, great. So we'll dive straight in. I've got a few questions I wrote down. So what I'd like to talk with you today, Louise, about, if possible, if you feel inspired to reflect back to me, another aspect of myself, is this shift that we're going through. Obviously, there's a lot of names it's going under. Some people are calling it the event, the shift, the transition to fourth density, the fifth dimension, shifting consciousness, the new age, the age of awakening, the age of Atlantis, no, the age of Aquarius. Of course, there's many names, and we all feel we're going through this shift of consciousness in a minute. And so from your perspective, from what you've learned yourself and through your channeling, what is the shift to you?
I think it's a great question. It's a really great question. I can tell you what Aikon have shared during channelings, and they say this very frequently, that humanity is going through a shifting consciousness right now, where our consciousness is kind of expanding in a way that we're becoming more aware. We have a greater awareness than we had before, and it's kind of like a wave that's sweeping across the planet, and as one person transitions or transforms or experiences this awakening in their consciousness, their system, which is energy, we're all made of energy, everything's energy, starts to vibrate at a different frequency. It starts to vibrate at a higher frequency. And just like molecules, when you have a bunch of molecules together, I don't know much about science, so I'm not going to go into this too much, but if you heat them up, one of them starts to vibrate, then it affects the other ones around. And humans are just the same. We're vibrating energy. And we can all feel this even on a very basic level. Like if you talk to anyone, you ask them if they've ever walked into a room and the people in the room have just had an argument, you can kind of feel the energy in the room, like, oh, what's been happening in here? Or if you walk into a room and the people, I don't know, there's like little babies laughing with the people, and the energy is very high frequency and love. You feel it somehow in the air. We feel each other. And I think we're becoming more aware of this feeling each other and connecting with these subtler energetic levels. I think many people are starting to recognize that there is more to our experience than simply the mind. There is more to who we are than our mind-made identity that we create, the imagined self that we believe ourselves to be. And many people seem to be having a direct experience of their true nature. They're awakening to this true nature, and it affects the others around them, and it affects us in a profound way, because once this has happened, then it's like a rebirthing. It's like a transformation. It's like Aikon often use this analogy of the caterpillar, where it transforms into a butterfly, and that's what's happening to us right now. We're going through this transformation process, and many times our old life kind of falls apart, and it can be a scary experience also for people when everything they've known their whole life suddenly shatters before their eyes. And for some it can happen pretty quickly, and it can feel like life is falling apart. And if you're going through that right now, I just want to reassure people that in the moment it can seem terrifying, it can seem scary, and especially if all your junk is coming up, like all these repressed emotions that are coming up to be healed and released in this higher vibration, this expanding consciousness. It's challenging. It's really challenging, and I've been through these challenges myself, so I know how it feels. And I just want to reassure you and be gentle with yourselves. I can't say this a lot. Be loving with yourselves. Trust the process. So yeah, I'm just going back to what Aikon shared. They share that we're going through this process, and also that our planet is moving through, it's moving in space through a particular energetic field. It's moving through energy, which is affecting the planet, and it's affecting us too. And the reason why Aikon contacted me and wanted to work with me in the work that I'm doing channeling them is because they're kind of specialties in the multiverse. And whenever a civilization is going through a transformation process, they feel that their role or their job or their specialty or what's the most fun for them to do is to support those beings in that process. So they're here to offer us support and guidance and reassurance that everything's okay, and really to help us to make this shift as gentle as possible. And it's amazing just to see, for me personally, like if I look around at everyday life, just to notice how fast things are changing, like the fact that they're starting to introduce mindfulness in mainstream schools in the UK now, and they're doing meditation with the kids in many places. Like, just when I was a child, these things were unheard of. Like, these things were considered crazy, and now it's really in the mainstream. There's yoga schools popping up on every corner, and I think people are really opening, and it's beautiful to be part of this process. It's amazing. It's exciting to see what's going to come.
Yeah, I love that you brought up at the end about how it's already happening, because I sort of had this realization just like a couple of days ago. It's like we're all waiting and waiting and waiting, aren't they? When's the event going to happen? When's the shift going to happen? When are we going to transition to fourth density, the fifth dimension? And I was just driving up the road the other day, and I thought the night before I'd done like a business class on the internet for like sharing my message about channeling, and it was all about branding. But all the way through the talk, she was talking about like being in the flow state and like doing what you love to do and like tuning in. And I'm like, wow. And these are like, you know, they're not so much the spiritual people. These are like business people, you know, and all these big like business gurus like Tony Robbins and people like this. They're all like meditating and talking about following your passion and your joy, and like all these big businessmen that say like you've got to do something you love. And I was just like driving along the road and like, this is already happening. It's everywhere. It's just like everywhere.
It is. It's amazing to see, and I think it's kind of a trick of the ego that it always wants to jump to the future. It's like it's never satisfied and it's never happy in the present moment, and whatever's here, it thinks that something better is coming in the future, and we can actually waste our whole lives waiting for some event, or when that happens, then everything will be okay. When I'm in this situation, then I can be happy. But I would encourage people not to wait for some event or not to think about even what's happening in the future. Like, really enjoy this moment now, because we've got so much beauty all around us right now. And if we're just waiting for something in the future that may or may not happen, we're going to miss all this incredible life that's just happening all around us.
Yeah, and I think that's a great message, because I know, like myself, you've sort of explored like both these sides of spirituality. You've like explored obviously the sort of more modern channeling teachings about sort of manifesting your reality, and I don't know what, I think you teach a bit different actually, but I'm sure you've come across sort of like Bashar's teachings and Abraham Hicks' teachings about visualization and positive thinking and manifesting a beautiful reality. But then we've got all the other teachers like Adyashanti and Mooji, who drew that picture up there. It's one of Moody's pictures.
Oh, beautiful.
Because I see you follow Moody as well a little.
Yeah, Moody's been a great inspiration for me. In fact, I had one of my most profound spiritual experiences when I was sitting with Moody in Rishikesh in India. And so I will be eternally grateful for him and the work that he's doing. He really touched my heart very deeply, as well as many other teachers. I don't want to single him out because there's so many teachers now, and we're so blessed. And I think it's partially because of the internet. Like, we can just turn on our device, our laptop, or tablet, whatever, and right at our fingertips on YouTube, we've got all these amazing inspirational teachers. Like, it wasn't like this 20 years ago. You had to travel to India and you didn't know where to go. And I think it's playing a big part in this transformation process, how the internet's just connecting us all and it's spreading information so quickly. But just coming back to what you were saying about my channeling, that's one of the things that I love about the way that Aikon share information. And they've expressed that one of the reasons why they chose to work with me is because and I think it's safe to say this is the same for all channels, but I don't want to speak for other people, so I'll just speak on my own experience. When I channel, the information that comes through, it's to a certain extent not 100% pure because it's coming through my system, and I explain to people they can only use what's here. And that's why I can't channel in Japanese, for example, because it's not accessible when it has to come through this. And on my own personal journey, I've had a very multidimensional spiritual awakening, and also a more traditional awakening. And I'm very much inspired and influenced by the non-duality Advaita Vedanta teachings that come from the West. And I feel like Aikon's channelings are kind of a bridge between these two worlds of multidimensionality and non-duality. And I love how they connect the two in their teachings. And it's a little bit like the influence of the West and the influence of the East also coming together.
Yeah, and what you were saying to me just before the call, you were talking about how the energies that come through you are less mental. Like a lot of channels, like particularly me with the channeling the Yael, it's very sort of masculine energy and very thought, concepts and ideas. And but you say, well, one of the reasons I feel that I've been drawn to speak to you today is because one of the questions I had is, what everyone seems to be talking about at the minute, everywhere I look, and it's something that's been a big part of my transformation, is the feminine energy and the divine feminine and the reawakening of the feminine on the planet. And I wondered if you could share with us your perspective of what this feminine energy is that everyone's talking about at the minute, and everyone says, the feminine's coming back and divine feminine, align with your feminine. So perhaps you could share with us your perspective of what this feminine energy is, this divine feminine rebirth thing we're going through.
Yeah. I don't know much about astrology, but astrology or astronomy, what am I trying to say? But they say that this is the age now of the feminine. I'm thinking back to a documentary that I watched, and I think it was about the Mayan calendar. And they explained about how we move through certain ages. And the Mayans were absolute masters at tracking the movements of the stars in the sky and recording it in calendars. And they found a correlation between human consciousness over time and the age that we move through with regard to the zodiac signs. And I think 2012 marked the shift into this new age after I don't like to say the number because I think I probably can't remember the exact number. I don't know if you've looked into these things, and there's people probably watching this that will want to correct me, and please go ahead, because I'm no way, in any way, an expert on these things. But it's if anyone's interested in it, you can research. And many ancient cultures, especially the indigenous peoples from different places around the planet, like the Aboriginals and the Mayans and the Aztecs, there's recordings of them making these ancient calendars, which show that there is expected to be a shift in consciousness and a movement towards more feminine energy, starting around this time of 2012. And if we really look, if I look in my own life around me, it's becoming evident to me that even within my own family, within the people that I meet, if you look at how men behave 1 or 2 generations and compare it to nowadays, I really feel like there's a great, wonderful shift happening in men, where they're opening up to sensitivities and emotions and intuition. And society is changing its beliefs around how a man should be and what it means to be a man. It used to be that a man had to be strong, and if he showed emotion, he was weak. And now, for me to see a man really opening his heart and showing emotion and allowing himself to cry, for example, in front of me, I see that as true strength. And it really feels like a balance is coming into play inside of each individual. And I think as we come into balance more within ourselves, and that's reflected in society, in our behavior. And also for women, many women now, they're coming into their true power. If you look back throughout history, if women showed any signs of strong intuition or any abilities that were not considered normal or natural, they were literally burned at the stake, or they were stoned to death. So I think it's in our systems, in our genetics. There's a kind of fear for women to really come into their power, and women are meeting this fear now and healing it and transforming it, as we recognize now it's actually safe for us to express these natural gifts that the feminine has to share with humanity. And for me, the feminine energy is really one of allowing and trust. So the woman can, in a way, simply sit back and really connect to her inner power, and things will just flow to her that she needs when she's really connected within and she knows. And this is the nature of the feminine energy. It's very flowing and receiving. And the masculine energy is one of strength and power. And men, they really have great capacity to create and move forward with their energy. It's penetrative. And now men and women are, as they come into balance, I feel that we're recognizing the natural gifts that we each have and how they complement each other. And it allows us to work more in harmony together. And especially if people are experiencing more conscious relationship with their partner, it's beautiful to come together in this way and really support each other to blossom into our highest potential.
Wow, thank you. And I feel it's so important at the minute for all of us, men and women, to tune into this feminine energy, because, like you say, that's it. It's about being receptive and letting things flow to you, and in a sense surrendered to our higher self. Because it's like, from my own perspective, being very, I guess, masculine oriented and wanting to control things and make things happen and do things, and it's just not working anymore in this reality, because we're shifting to this new consciousness where we manifest to our vibration and trying to do things and make things happen and battle against reality, and it just doesn't work anymore. And it's like life's forcing us control freak dominated men to like surrender, and it just doesn't work anymore. And the more you try and make things happen and control, and it just doesn't work, does it? And it's like forcing us back into our feminine, and it's just like, okay, I give up. You take over.
And many times what I find is when I reach that point of surrender and I'm like, okay, I just surrender everything, and there's really letting go, what happens is that magically what I'm trying to fight against, it just naturally flows to me with such great ease, and then I can take action on it. And I can actually talk about this quite a lot, how we're shifting our energy center in our system. So in the old, if you want to call it the old way, the power center was our mind and our brain. So we were trained to focus a lot of our energy up here in the head. And they're saying that now, as we're shifting and are expanding our consciousness, the power center is becoming the heart. So they're inviting us to invite our energies to move down into the body, so that we can remember how to feel more deeply, rather than thinking, focusing our attention on the thoughts all the time, to turn our attention inwards and feel in the body. And many times we're so caught up in our mind that we're not even present in our body with our energies. Like if you just take a moment now, people who are watching this, and just tune into your feet, for example. Like, are you aware of how it feels inside your feet and inside your hands? And if we just take a moment to kind of slow everything down and stop, then we realize we can feel the breath moving in the body. And we weren't aware of this before because we were caught up in our thinking. It's like a natural, it's not natural, it's a habit that our system got used to, and it's not natural for us. It's natural for us to have our awareness in our whole body, like feeling inside our legs. And many times when we bring the attention into the body, noticing the breath, we realize, wow, I was like tensed up like this and I didn't even notice. And I thought, oh, I can relax now. And when we relax, our system starts to open. And when the system opens, the energy starts to flow more freely, and everything relaxes. And it's much healthier way for us to live, actually, rather than being stressed and contracted all the time. But Aikon talk a lot about how we've been taught to avoid emotions that don't feel pleasant. And they say part of the shift is for us to recognize that emotions are just sensations in the body. And if we try to avoid a sensation and say, oh, sadness is here, if we recognize sadness is here, oh, that doesn't feel good, I don't want to feel that, actually it just gets repressed and it's not healthy for our system. So they want to teach us to meet these energies and just allow them and let ourselves feel them. And in this way, everything that was repressed in our life can begin to release from the system. And as it releases, what happens is that the higher frequency energies can enter our system and fill up that space.
Yeah, and I love what you say about, because this is sort of the transition I'm going through at the minute, like you say, from the head to the heart. And I can speak from my heart all the time, but I don't, because I'm scared, because when you're speaking from the heart, it's like you say, you're vulnerable. You know how you say you like to see a man that can cry in front of you, because when you're in your heart, it's like all your insecurities and stuff you like to hide about yourself, you can't do it, because when you want to speaking from your heart, it all wants to come out. And like it's like when you're speaking from your heart, it's like you just open and like, this is me, actually I'm not so strong, I was crying last night. I'm really emotional, I'm struggling with this, I've got issues over here. And when you're speaking from your heart, it's like, this is what your heart wants to talk about. It wants to say, look, I love you, but I'm scared. And like the male masculine energy of the head doesn't want to say that, does it? It doesn't want to say, I love you, but I'm scared.
And for me, that's just the most beautiful thing. We can really meet each other from the heart in this way. And all the masks and protection that we've been wearing, it just all falls away. And there's so much beauty in meeting in authenticity. And we can really feel each other and really truly connect. And this is actually what we're all seeking, what most of us want. We want to feel a sense of connection with other humans. And it's the most rewarding thing for me to be able to meet someone in that way and allow ourselves to be vulnerable and really honor each other and honor each other's experience and not judge each other. And if somebody expresses that, wow, I'm having a tough time, I have so much respect for that. And I really appreciate when someone has the courage to open their heart and allow themselves to be vulnerable, because that, for me, is true strength.
Yeah, it's really amazing, because this is a bit of a process I've been going through. It's like sort of wanting to connect from the heart space, but like the fears about connecting like are blocking the connection. You know, it's like, oh, I really want to connect to you from your heart, but I don't want to open up to you because you might see that I've been really sad for 2 days, and I'm afraid we won't connect if you see that I've been sad. And that's like what's blocking the connection. Like, and it's like you need to open up and just like say, this is who I am.
Yeah. Many of us, we've got this these two movements. So we're like saying to people, I want to connect, but there's another movement in us that's scared of rejection and scared of judgment. So then we're pulling back, but don't get too close. Connect to me, but don't get too close. Like this. So it's nice to be aware of it, and also to really honor that fear, honor those emotions that are scared. And I think it's natural, because it's a new way of being. It's like we're learning again how to be with each other, how to interact with each other, how to connect with each other. And for so long we were connecting with each other from this place of inauthenticity, of putting a mask on and pretending to be something, to show our life is amazing, I'm happy, and underneath it we're all miserable. And I think what we're realizing now is that doesn't bring us satisfaction, actually. And if we really let our guard down, many times what I find is that it's rewarding, and people usually they react in a different way than my fear would expect them to. I think it's also important to be discerning when we connect with people, because maybe some people don't have the capacity to meet us in that openness. And maybe it's not appropriate to be totally open-hearted and share everything with everyone we meet. We must also tune into our discernment and feel in the moment what is appropriate to share with one person and what is appropriate maybe to say for a conversation with somebody else.
Yeah, definitely. It's like a sort of tuning in, isn't it, to like whether it feels right to share or not. Yeah. And I think this is what you were sharing about, the idea of like, this is what we're all seeking, this connection. I think this is really what the shift is all about, in a way, learning to come back to our heart space and learn to connect with each other from our hearts, openly and vulnerably and truthfully and lovingly, who we truly are. And it's like connecting to our own hearts, and then it's like we're all connecting together. It's all about reconnecting into and becoming one consciousness.
Yeah. And recognizing that actually, you could say that maybe the deepest level of truth, we are all one being. We are this infinite consciousness that's expressing itself through multitudes of different physical forms, so that it can experience life through different eyes, and it's all the same energy. When we experience that within ourselves, if we've really experienced that and felt that, and then every time we look at another person, we can see that really we're looking at ourselves, another version of us. And from that knowing, there's no way that we can harm another person or hurt another person. And if the other person is acting in a way where they're projecting pain out, we understand that it's just because they're carrying pain inside of them, and it's so much that they can't handle it, and it's just overflowing from their system, and we just feel compassion for them.
And do you feel that like this connection could be the key to like true oneness? Because from my own perspective, I get like these experiences of oneness where I'm like, all of a sudden I'd be one with everything. And I'm like, oh, you can like see like the person walking down the street is you, and it's like the most blissful, mind-blowing state. And then like an hour later, it's gone. And I'm like, no, it's gone. Do you think maybe like the secret to true oneness is to come back into our hearts and our feminine energy and really truly connect with people? And this is maybe the next step, so we like begin to experience oneness all the time.
I think that's a great question, Jonathan. It's a very good question. The ultimate secret to oneness. This is what yeah, that is the question. For me, if you could call it the secret, I don't think it's such a secret anymore. But the key is to recognize our own true nature as pure awareness, and to live from our truth in every moment. And when we're resting as this natural state that's accessible to all of us, it's so close to us. Like so many of us are seeking it, and we're trying to find the answers and the secrets, going to all these sacred places and reading all these books and watching all these videos, and it's right here with us all the time. It's so close to us that we're overlooking it, that we're missing it. And if we slow down and notice this silence, this love, this divinity that's right here inside of us all, wanting to express itself, we can surrender to that and allow it to live through us. So we're not trying to create anything, really. We're not living from the mind and trying to force anything to happen. It's almost like life lives us, and we flow with it. And I don't mean that we don't have any power. It's the opposite. For me, this is coming into our true power when we can live in this state, and I think it brings inner harmony and inner peace. And my feeling is that this is the only key to long-lasting fulfillment and happiness. And ultimately, that is what everyone is searching for. Everything that anybody does is because they think it will make them happy. And many times we're searching for this happiness on the outside, in relationships, with our work, with trying to get money, trying to get recognized, fame. And maybe it makes us happy for a short time, but the true eternal joy and bliss can only be found inside of us, in our hearts.
Wow, thank you. So, yeah, I think we explored that brilliantly. So, now we've gone into planet Earth and finding our own love and connecting on planet Earth. Sorry, you dropped, the internet went a bit.
Okay.
I'm not sure where to go from there.
You can just sit and enjoy this energy.
Yeah.
Sometimes silence can be more powerful than any words. And what I find is that many times my deepest connection with people is actually when we're not even talking, when we just kind of bring our attention into our own bodies and really feel. And it's almost like we can experience the other person from inside ourselves, and we can connect from the heart and feel each other. And if we're talking a lot, often that's a distraction, and it pulls us away from this capacity that we have to tune into each other's and feel the other person. So we can, if you like to, we can really connect like this for a moment if no words come, and we can just drop into the stillness and drop into our bodies. And anyone that's watching this, you're welcome to do it with us. And just be without doing anything, without saying anything, and feel each other. It's actually very rare that we connect with someone in this way, because there's this almost unwritten rule that we have to talk to each other all the time. And if someone's not talking, people can feel awkward, or they're thinking of something to say, and we miss out on this beauty of really being able to connect with each other, really connecting from the heart, feeling each other. How does it feel for you to connect like this? What is your experience?
Yeah, like you, I agree that the most profound communications we have with people are in silence.
So if anyone watching this is joining us and just connecting with us in this silence, just notice if thoughts start appearing, just observe them. Don't try to stop them or bad. Notice them all. Feel what's here and allow whatever's here to be here. So if there's any contraction or tightness, let yourself really feel it. Surrender to it. And if you notice your mind telling you things now like, well, this is boring. I'm going to fast forward the video a little bit. Just notice that's probably the ego. Because the ego does not like this presence and this silence. It will do anything it can to pull you out of it and pull you back into the mind and the thinking and the activity.
Yeah, so if you want to be enlightened, watch the video to the end. It's good karma.
And we're just going to sit in silence now, in presence, right to the end.
Yes, so I think if is there anything else you'd like to share with us?
I'm trying to think what questions people were writing on Facebook. There are a few people writing.
Do you want me to have a look?
I think there was something about someone asking about dreams and if I had any recommendations for Dreamtime. It's not, I don't feel it's really my area of speciality, but I know there is a teacher that I really enjoy, and his name is Tenzin Wangyal Rinpoche, and he teaches what is called dream yoga. So a lot of people are interested in how to astral travel and expand their consciousness during dream time, and this is really his area of expertise. So I would guide people to his teachings. I would recommend that.
Okay, yeah, I'll look at the questions on Facebook.
Right. I know for me, I listened to some of those binaural beats before I was going to sleep many times, and it was very effective for me. That induced lucid dreaming in my dream state and out-of-body experiences. And there are many little tricks and techniques that you can try and see what works for you. For example, I think something I did which worked was every time you walk through a doorway in your regular waking life, you ask yourself, am I dreaming? and you get into this habit, and it becomes so entrained in the system that when you're in a dream and you walk through a doorway, you ask yourself the question, am I dreaming? And then suddenly you realize, oh yeah, I am. And the dream becomes lucid, which is when you can really play and create in dream time. You don't have to do it with the doorway. You can use anything. And another little trick is to set your alarm clock for a certain time in the morning. For example, I think it's like 4 or 5 o'clock when energies are most conducive to astral travel, and wake yourself up at that time, get up for a little bit, and then go back to bed. And that can help to induce these alternate dream-like states where you can experience going out of your body and this kind of thing. Were there any other questions on that list?
I'm not sure. You just answered the one I was looking at, because I think most of the other ones, they thought you were going to be channeling Aikon, and there were more questions oriented towards Aikon. So yeah, I don't think there's
well, if you do have questions for Aikon, on the 11th of October, I'm doing a live stream channeling, and I'll be channeling Aikon, and that's a great opportunity for you to ask them your questions and interact live with them. So if you go to my website, louiseK.net, you can find all the information there on how to register for it, and it will be great to see you there and connect with you.
Thank you. So yeah, I think that about covers everything. I think we discussed what I feel we were drawn together to discuss today. So it's like I had like about 5 or 6 questions listed, and you answered them all within the one question I answered you. So questions. So
awesome.
Yeah, I feel we covered everything that was asked of us today.
Yeah, it was beautiful. It was really nice to connect with you from the heart like this, and yeah, lovely.
Thank you. I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, and we hope you enjoyed it too. If you want to work with me or Jonathan, we're both offering sessions, and you can book on our websites. Do you want to tell them your website as well, Jonathan?
Yeah, my website's jonathancmartin.com, and we'll put the links in the box below. And yeah, we both do private sessions and group sessions and all sorts of things, I guess.
Everything's on the website, so have a look over there.
Okay, so thank you, Louise. It's been wonderful, an honour to connect with the divine feminine that you are. and the balance of the masculine. I'm sure you have your balance within you, because we need the balance to get through this world. Mm-hmm. And thank you everyone for watching, and have a wonderful day, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.